think you're on the other side. Mario's sitting here. I think you're on the other side of Mario. Yeah, I keep eating it though.
How much
It's too close to my mouth. I keep chewing on it.
What's that? I can't
How
hear.
much taxpayer money went to this?
What's taxpayer money?
Or other ones.
But the federal taxpayer.
Those ones too.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, those ponds.
That makes it better, doesn't it?
It falls right in my mouth. I don't have a big enough
I know
nose.
it's about as like underwear material. Like,
You saying you wear your
not the kind of thing
You say you wear
Hey,
your
it's-
underwear
it's
for a
super-
mask.
It's super soft though.
It's super soft.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
why it's not much-
Will you hand me that cable there?
Which-
The silver cable? Yeah, there we go. That's it. Thank you.
Oop, there you go. Okay, well, I have 14, oh, excuse me, I have 202. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting of the Animal Services Committee to order. Mr. Everson, you want to call roll?
Absolutely. Commissioner Talaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Johnson, we did see him here. Commissioner Young,
Present.
Commissioner Burrell, and Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
All right, you have 4 of 5 present. You do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, sir. And before we get to our business, I'd like to thank those in attendance, both in chambers here and those viewing on our website and our Facebook live stream. Your attendance and participation matters. Please stand for our invocation led by Commissioner John Paul Young and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lyndon Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you would like to join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Next to all military veterans, reservists, and retired, do hand the brow. All others do hand on you hard. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate it. So before we begin today on our agenda, as the committee chair, I sit before you animal poor, as a foster, a transporter, and a adopter, and an advocate for animal rights. And I wanted to express my sincere appreciation to the fellow commissioners for your willingness to serve on this very important committee. It is a committee like no other, because we are associated with the department solely responsible for the humane care of other living creatures. I view this as an awesome responsibility of trust to our constituents and our staff, and to the animals that we are responsible for looking out for their future, their safety, and their well-being. That we exercise the best practices in the animal care industry to ensure appropriate ordinances and laws are passed, implemented, and enforced to provide a wholesome environment for our animals and to support our staff. To Dr. Wilson and our Caddo Parish Animal Services staff, thank you for your attendance today. And it's all about knowledge and understanding of where we are, our future, and how we can get there collectively. Mr. Everson, would you continue with the agenda?
Yes, I am not aware of any agenda additions unless anybody has any. We have not received any. That being said, that brings us to public comments. We also have not received any electronic public comments or any requests to speak at the meeting thus far. Though just for the audience's knowledge, as pre-COVID, we required that you fill out a comment card in the lobby. You're still able to do that, but you can also click on the agenda online. We'll bring you to our public comment page where you can submit a public comment that way as well. So, so that's a new thing that we have adjusted to help get people a chance to participate in meetings even if they're not comfortable with being here. And that brings us to new business.
Can I ask a question? So are we saying that the public can now call in when we doing live meetings?
No, it's a, you know how we would read the electronically submitted comments before?
Right.
This is like signing up for a comment card online. Like, it's not necessarily the same as what we were doing when we were doing teleconference. It's just somebody can sign up to make their statement online.
Okay.
Do they make the statement
Did we
in person
vote
or
on it?
online?
I think the idea that we had said is that if we receive it prior to the meeting, we'll read it like we read it before
But is that
during the
something that,
teleconference meetings.
That's
But
something that we voted on? Then I missed it?
no, it's just it was just a carryover from the teleconference. If y'all,
I think we probably need to vote on that as a body first before we implement it.
okay,
That's just my opinion.
sure, we'll remove it. And that brings us to new business.
Right now?
I'm saying as a body, the whole body has to.
Oh.
Put it on the agenda so it has to be done.
Are y'all ready for new business?
Continue.
New business. We're at review of 2020 under new business.
Yeah, if I just want to make one comment in my opening statement, Doctor, anyone that, Mr. Clark, anyone that wants to kind of address any one of these topics, any one of these situations, again, this is all about knowledge and understanding. This is the first meeting, obviously, since I'm the chair of 2020 because of COVID and so forth. So this is just kind of a bring us up to date. And that's pretty much what we're asking for at this time. We just want to know our current position, and any one of these topics, any one of you can field, and would be great with me.
I guess we'll give you an overview, Commissioner Telfair.
Sorry, sir.
We'll go ahead and start by giving you all the overview, kind of where we are now with the last 9 months of this year.
Sure. Oh yeah, because we know
Which has been
COVID
pretty-
has put we understand. We've been tracking, right along with Mr. Clark and the rest of the staff there on the COVID issue. So we're
Right.
very much aware of the strategic challenges, during the COVID. So,
Right.
whatever y'all feel, whatever Mr. Clark feels is,
Okay.
pertinent information to bring us up to speed on where
Okay.
we are year to date, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, good afternoon, everybody.
Mr. Clark, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'll go over the review of 2020 thus far. From the animal aspect, we will have Assistant Director Samuel give us an update on some of the mosquito side. So currently, the live release rate is 88% for the year. That's with intaking 2,600 animals. I have copies that I can make for everyone here
That'd be great.
that you all can have.
Or you may email them, whatever
Yes.
is convenient for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. The operational updates, changes, and improvements. Due to COVID, there hasn't been a lot of updates at this time. Our vet staff hosted a virtual training for the continuing education, which allowed 4 non-Caddo Parish bodies to attend virtually to retain their certifications for the year of 2020. We do have the new radio systems rolling out, the new P25 radios that have been on backlog ever since I got back in 2018, with the cutover date set for September 30th. We're also rolling out the Everbridge notifications. Those have been helping out with people knowing about the mosquito spraying and what zones we're spraying in and whatnot. As far as the current initiatives, we want to continue working on our parvo positive life-saving measures. As of right now, during the summer months, there are a lot of puppies that come in, and as soon as they get to the shelter, they're already tested for parvo, and they're already testing positive. It is difficult to narrow down the cause of it, but being unvaccinated and being outside in the dirt and things like that, we don't know the situations a lot of these animals come from. So we do have a lot of puppies testing parvo positive. I actually just photographed like 12 puppies last week that all came in as parvo positive, but they went through the program and they're now negative and up for adoption. We did receive a grant to assist us with heartworm positive dogs and being able to treat them. With those funds, we purchased the medicine and the treatment. So we implemented a protocol, and this funding will help approximately 200 large-sized dogs be treated for heartworms. A lot of the adult dogs that we get, well, I don't want to say a lot, I would say it's closer to 50%, 45% of the adult-sized dogs that we get are heartworm positive, which creates a hurdle for some of them to get adopted or to get rescued, because it can be costly to treat heartworm positive animals. So this will definitely help with that.
Mr. Clark, if I can, is this for the slow kill?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's a slow kill method. Ivermectin injection, and then they get the antibiotics for the 30 days. And in our future initiatives, prior to COVID, we finally built up relationships with several different schools to partake in the educational piece in the 4-H programs. Of course, due to COVID, we have to slowly work our way back into the school system and continue to build our relationships with the rescue partners in hopes of continuing those partnerships and possibly fostering new partnerships. The previous Best Friends Summit was canceled for the pandemic. In 2020, in January, I did attend a Best Friends workshop down in Baton Rouge. I'm the only person from the staff that got to attend a Best Friends training this year because the rest of them did get canceled. Mr. Samuel and myself were scheduled to attend the conference. I think it was in June, scheduled for June of this year, but of course it was canceled. We'll definitely participate in the seasonal adoption promos such as Home for the Holidays and the foster events around Christmas, to where we were delivering puppies and kittens for Christmas. We did that last year. It was successful. We plan to do that again as well. And as far as a lot of statistical data, I don't know if you want me to go through that, or do you just want me to get it to you guys after the meeting?
I think, you can just get it to us whenever. You can just email it.
What kind of
Unless there's some high points you'd like to focus on.
Okay, it is.
We always like those high points.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So as far as the intake of our of the dogs that we have at the shelter this year, when I printed this report, of course it could have changed like right now today, but we've had 1,774 dogs coming to the facility. Of that 1,774, 34% of those are pit bull type dogs. We definitely want to save as many animals as we can. But to date, when I printed this report, we had 262 dogs that had been humanely euthanized for the year. Of that 262, 55% of those were pit bull type dogs. So when I send you all the data, it's not just numbers. We have to look at the specifics of it. So I just wanted to make that part known.
Hey, Mr. Clark. Mr.
Yes,
Clark.
sir.
Mr. Clark.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
the glasses throw you off. Would you let us know what's the daily rate at the shelter on the total number of cats and dogs at one time?
Right now, I think of this morning, I think we had 127 dogs in the facility and 113 cats, I think is what it was.
That's well over 230 something animals,
Yes.
and that's every day.
On a typical day, yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, during COVID, the numbers did get down, and it was kind of eerie not having a dog in almost every cage, but,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I got you.
Yes,
So
sir.
a quick question for you, Mr. Clark, on the
Yes.
262 year-to-date, I presume.
Yes, sir.
And you said that 55% of those that were pit bull mix, obviously over half of 262, and they were, so half of the 262 were destroyed, and they were destroyed because of
Different reasons.
behavioral.
You have behavioral, you have medical issues. Behavioral issues meaning prior bite history, aggression towards staff, or aggression towards other animals. We've had bite cases, and our most severe bite cases have been owners being bitten by their own dogs. And in a situation like that, and it's a gross injury, and we have someone, have surgery to remove a limb due to that damage, and that's definitely not an animal that we would like to put back into the community.
So on the behavioral issues, on the aggression, I mean, I understand who makes the determination? I mean, do we have an animal behaviorist? Well, that was a mouthful with a mask.
Yes, sir. No, we don't have a behavioral specialist, but each one of our staff members that attempt to interact with animals can update memos of how their interactions were. Like, was this dog, is he just aggressive towards males? Is he aggressive towards dogs that are smaller than them or bigger than them? Does it like men? Does it prefer women? And again, we try to give every dog a chance. We just had, we had one dog in particular that it really only liked one person, and only one person was able to get that dog out of a cage. And it took us close to 40 days to be able to find a positive placement for that animal. We can't take 40 days for every animal to try to find placement, because you have to worry about the length of stay. We have animals come in every day. If this animal can't be co-housed, is animal aggressive, it's specific on the people that he or she likes, then it's not a safe position to put us in to try to keep that animal for extended amounts of time.
So what's the, on an average, one dog, what's the average period of time for a behavioral assessment for a dog coming in?
You mean how long will we keep a dog that we know is going to need some behavioral work?
Well, either that, or I know that you said that multiple people comment on the behavior of a dog, whether it's aggressive and so forth. What is the time span that we allow an aggressive
dog to remain at the facility?
Well, yeah, just not to remain, but actually to do the what do I want to say? The assessment. Thank you. To do the assessment, is it 1 month? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 2 weeks? If I have 3 days in a row where the dog's aggressive, and 3 people have visited and they've all said the same thing, and then the dog's euthanized, or is there a period of time where we give the dog an adjustment opportunity based on where it came from, whether it came from a fight situation?
That is it's all circumstantial, and it depends on the dog. It also depends on the space, right? You have to remember back in April, I think it was the hard shutdown month. I think we only took in 95 animals. So of course, we're trying to allow every dog time to decompress and see if someone can work with it. It's not a specified time, but if we're full at the facility, we've already tried to interact with this dog prior to the stray hold even being up. Prior to that 4 business days being completed, we've already tried to assess it, because the vet staff has to put their hands on the dogs to do a heartworm test, to give it shots, to deworm it and see if it has any injuries or things like that. So there are 4 to 5 different people who will be hands-on with an animal to see if it has behavioral issues that we probably can't correct.
So really it's based on the dog and
yes, sir.
the
the space
limitations of the shelter itself.
Yes.
Whether the dog is assessed to have behavioral issues or not. And regarding the injuries, if a dog comes in, and let's just focus on the 55% of pit bull mixes that are put down. If the dog comes in with significant injuries that you believe are, first of all, how do these dogs enter into our facility? Are they picked up? Are they owner surrendered? And if they're owner surrendered, and if the injuries, and we believe those injuries obviously are the result of a dog fighting because of the nature of the mix. I presume that we take an aggressive law enforcement posture on those.
There has been instances where people will come in to surrender an animal, and due to the health of that animal, you can see that it's been long-term neglect, but we need the veterinarian staff to be able to validate that or verify that. I've worked in the animal profession for 12 years now, but I will not say that I'm a vet. I do not know that these overgrown nails didn't grow like this in a month. It probably didn't, but I can't say that, and we have people bring in injured animals. They said they saw the dog get hit, the dog got hit at the corner of Ockley, and they bring it in. A lot of the times we can post those animals and try to get them to help. But you also have to remember that if an officer picks it up as an emergency at 8 o'clock at night, we don't have vets on staff till 8:30, 9 a.m. the next morning. That animal may pass overnight. Or, if it has no feeling in the rear receptors, the toes or anything like that, and that animal is paralyzed, if we don't feel we can get that animal help, we know that it's suffering, we're not gonna, prolong that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question about some of the funding.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So you said we had 262 euthanized dogs this year. Does that number includes like old sick dogs?
It includes owner surrender that have a euthanasia request attached to it. We do have some citizens who they'll have a 17-year-old dog that can't walk anymore, things like that. People bring them in. When I give out the numbers, I'm giving you the hard numbers. I'm not trying to deduct this or,
So there are several probably categories in the 262 euthanizations that could be parsed out so that the public knows that we're not grabbing dogs just to kill them.
Of course, yes, sir.
Do we present the information that way to the public?
On
262 minus these were owners brought us these dogs and asked us to put them down because they're so old.
Yes, when we update the statistics every month, during the first week of every month, if not on the first, if the first is on a weekday, I'll work my best to get with Mr. Nathan so we can have those statistics updated to our website on the first. If the first business day of the month is on Monday, I work on them on a weekend just so I know Monday those statistics can go up. It will talk about animals that have died in care. Here lately, again, fighting parvo, fighting pan-luke. In kittens is kind of similar to parvo, but it's for kittens. You have those injured animals that come in, and sometimes they fade. You have new unweaned puppies and kittens coming in that are sick, and you try to bottle feed them and whatnot. You put them in foster, and they could still pass even though they're in a loving home and trying to be fostered. So you have the medical aspect, you have the behavioral aspect. We have not euthanized an animal for time and space in 2020. There's been an underlying reason for every animal that had been euthanized this year. And looking at the 262, and we're at the end of September, we've already come so far because this amount of animals used to be euthanized in a month at our facility. So, yes, sir.
Just one follow-up. How many animals, so you'd say that so far 0 animals have been put down who didn't have a critical behavioral issue or a critical medical issue in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, and so just to dovetail off of that, so what you're saying is even through COVID, we've not had any space restrictions that would force us to euthanize any other dogs. So everything that was euthanized in that 262 was going directly to the behavioral or
a medical
injury
issue
or medical.
Yes.
I think COVID actually reduced the crunch on space.
For a while. I have a couple questions. I can speak. You finished?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So
based on the numbers that you provided us on dogs.
And there were 81 cats for the year as well. Sorry.
Huh?
I said there were 81 cats for the year.
Okay.
I apologize.
How many of those were euthanized?
No, 81.
Were euthanized.
Yes, 81 cats for the year have been euthanized.
And that's in that 262 or?
No, sir, that's
That's
in
additional
addition.
number.
The
Okay.
262 is just the dogs.
Okay, so looking at the dogs itself, it looks like we saved 85% of the dogs that came in.
Close to, yes, sir.
What was the safe rate before you started? Do you remember?
I think it was maybe 62.
Okay, so we've increased about 23%.
Yes, sir.
of saving dogs through different programs and methodology and philosophy and whatever you want to use.
Yes, sir. I think we have a lot of community support now, and I also think that altering these animals before they're adopted ensures that those animals will not have an accidental litter or be bred. So you don't have as many intact animals in the community as there once was before. So,
Okay.
you know,
So-
the intake is decreasing as well.
All right, so some of these pet owners that come in, do we verify the address to be Caddo residents? I mean, can somebody from Bossier come in and bring their animal in and say, I want it euthanized because it's old or it has
We
medical conditions?
we do advise citizens that this is a Caddo Parish facility. If they live in Bossier and they have an animal that they brought from Bossier to bring to us to humanely euthanize, we do not perform that service for outside the parish residents.
Okay, wonderful. And what is the percentage, the minimum percentage to be called a no-kill facility?
90%.
So we're about 5% off, based on
Ye-
the numbers.
We're less than 5% away from 90%, but
Okay,
you know.
all right. So, and in taking that into consideration, if you look at the dogs that are coming in for a service to be euthanized because the owner wants them to, because they don't want to pay a veterinarian to do it. Once you take them numbers away from it, then you're at a much higher percentage.
No, that's included.
No, I'm saying if you take, so say 20 pet owners come in and they say they want their pet euthanized. We would take that 20 from that 262, then that would be at 242. So your percentage of animals that would be, that have come in would not be at 85, but would be at a higher percentage. Because you're taking those away because those are not ones that were caught or it's just that a citizen of Caddo Parish wants them to come in to have that free service instead of paying a veterinarian.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the 262, that's just a hard number.
Right.
When I give you the live release rate, it subtracts the animals that are unhealthy, untreatable, that were brought in for that service.
Exactly, and that's the number I want to, I guess, get the public to realize that that's the true number instead of the one that you said with the 262, because those are the citizens coming in with their pets saying
Yes.
that, you know, put this down because
Yes.
I don't want to pay a vet to do it. This
Yes.
is a service that the parish provides, and I want the parish to do it.
Yes.
So once you do that, and then you look at the safe rate, that percentage will be much higher than 85.
No, well, the save rate is 85%, due in part to the people bringing those animals in and them being unhealthy and treatable. Just because someone surrenders an animal for that particular reason, we don't necessarily perform humane euthanasia. If there's a rescue group who is willing to take that animal on and have a positive outcome, we pursue that route.
All right, so do you count a dog that's half dead and is on his last breath as one that you put out just because it's suffering from and it's gonna die within 30 minutes?
If an owner brought it in, it will show up in the 262, but it will not reflect in the live release rate.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so it wouldn't be in the 1774 You wouldn't count it in the 1774.
It would still count in the 1774, it would still count in the 262. But in terms of the live release rate percentage, it doesn't count against us because it was unhealthy, it was untreatable, and the owner did bring it in for that particular service.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So is the live release rate, does that, what keeps it, if we haven't killed any dogs this year for
Time and space.
time and space,
Mhm.
then why is why wouldn't we call the live release rate 100%? Is it because some of them die in care from like disease?
No, sir. No, sir. Even though we're putting down a dog for medical reasons or behavioral issues, we were unable to find that dog a positive outcome.
Right.
So in terms, we did not save it. It did not leave the shelter in a live capacity.
Okay.
So it counts against us.
Okay. So that's true for animals that you bring in, but not for surrendered animals.
Not for surrendered animals. And again, you will have someone that may bring in an animal to surrender for behavioral reasons.
And you wouldn't put it down anyway.
If we're unable to save that animal, it still counts against us because it wasn't unhealthy, it wasn't untreatable, it was just a behavioral issue with that dog.
Okay.
You know, so these, you know, I just use the numbers the way that the pet point data management system allows us to utilize the numbers. And again, I give the hard numbers because I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to deduct or not show this or that. I show everything the way that it really happens.
Okay. So the live release rate excludes.
It excludes owner surrenders that were unhealthy and untreatable, and animals that may have died in care.
So it's really just the behavioral ones.
Behavioral and medical, because
Behavioral and medical that you bring in, but nobody else brings it to you.
yes,
I see. Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And
And we also have some mosquito control updates.
Hey, Travis,
I'm sorry.
we had a dangerous board that met yesterday, right?
Yes,
Would
we
you
did have
explain the process
a.
to the commissioners?
Yes, sir. We did have a dangerous dog board meeting yesterday. We had a situation about 2 weeks ago. Animal owners own 3 pit bull type dogs. They got out of the yard, and within a 30-minute time span, they had bitten 2 separate people. So those dogs were deemed dangerous by the board, not by me. It's a process. I would say, hey, I think we need to have a dangerous dog board for this particular incident, and the board decides on the facts presented to them after talking to the owners, after talking to the victims, after talking to the officers, if those dogs should be deemed dangerous. So those dogs did get deemed dangerous. They have to get fixed, microchipped. They have to have a placard on the house stating that they own a dog that has been deemed dangerous by Caddo Parish Animal Services. And we've had, I think, 4 of those boards over the past 2 years.
And who comprises that board?
We have it on file. You talking about the
Are these citizens that you
these?
call in?
No, these are citizens from Caddo Parish that are on that board.
Okay, so they're just John Q. citizens that sit on the dangerous dog board.
Yes, sir. And
Okay,
they
so
decided.
basically they're the grand jury of the dangerous dogs, basically.
Yes, sir. Dangerous or vicious. If an
Or
animal
missing?
or vicious.
Oh, vicious. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask the question. Is
Yes,
there
sir.
a difference between the vicious dogs and the dangerous dogs?
Yes, sir. Okay, so if a dog is deemed dangerous, the owner can reclaim it, but it'll have restrictions. It is not to be off of the property without having a muzzle. Has to wear a large yellow and red collar that's very distinguishable. That dog has to be under lock and key at all times. It cannot be out unsupervised. The board will advise if they feel for that particular case, this dog needs to be in a kennel with a roof cover, concrete floor, and a padlock if they were to leave it outside in the backyard in a kennel. And we do have a animal control officer specialist that follows up and checks on these things periodically to make sure that those dogs are current on their rabies vaccination. They're not running loose. We haven't had any reports of them running loose. If a dangerous dog is brought in for being in violation, i.e. running loose, or getting off of the property and biting someone, we can hold that dog and hold another board, and that board will decide if they want to imply further restrictions and leave it listed as dangerous or vicious. If the dog is deemed vicious, the dog is not able to be redeemed, and that dog will be humanely euthanized.
So how many dogs are on probation for being a dangerous
Right now?
dog right now? I mean, would just at ballpark it,
Uh,
because this is all kind of new to me. I didn't realize
Ballpark,
this.
I'm gonna say maybe 11 because
11.
of the 3 yesterday. So
And-
maybe 11.
And do those 11 reside in a specific district? Are we districting, or are we paying attention to what districts those dogs
They're
are?
all over the place.
They're all over?
They've been far up north. They've been down deep in Keithville. They've been in the city. They've been spread out.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And so the difference is Commissioner alluded to, we have dangerous, which means they can be controlled. They just got out and got stupid.
Yes, sir.
And then we have vicious, which means nobody can control them, and the dog's pretty much a behavioral issue.
Well, it is not that no one can control them. A dog that is deemed vicious, there's usually a gross injury involved with it. Maybe a little over a year ago, we had 2 pit bull type dogs. I say we as in Caddo Parish. They got out of their fenced yard and tried to attack a lady walking a small dog. Well, the lady grabbed the small dog and fell to the ground, so the dogs bit her. But due to the severity of those bites, those dogs, they didn't get deemed dangerous. They bypassed dangerous and went straight to vicious because of the severity of that attack.
Or if you have repetitive cases on those dogs as well.
I'm sorry, sir.
Or if you have repetitive cases on those
Yes,
dogs
sir.
as well.
Yes, sir.
Getting out and
Yes, sir.
chasing people, attacking them. stuff
Yes,
like
sir. That's it? Okay,
Thank you.
and we have some mosquito control updates for you all as well.
Okay.
Yes, we would do. No, we just do public comments like everybody else.
No public comments?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. Please do.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. So before I go into the mosquito stuff, I want to cover some safety aspects. So I'm pretty sure you all are aware of the bat that tested positive for rabies.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all righty. So, and of course, previous 2019 with a skunk that tested positive. I just want to put that on the record. So since 1970, we now have 241 positive animals. Caddo Parish have 119, 41 bats, 3 cats, 1 dog, and 76 skunks as current as of now. So that bat, that's why I just wanted to put that on the record so everyone can take precautions and be safety and pay attention, because the bat just happened to fly into the back of a citizen's neck and he felt a sting. So he wasn't sure if he got bit or scratched. So whenever an animal tests positive for rabies, the actual state epidemiologists have to notify that citizen. So that's how that all takes place.
What area of the parish was this? Can you say?
We can't say.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
I
But
just gotta
yes,
wear a
sir.
collar everywhere I go.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ballpark.
Yes, sir.
Do they kill the animals if they test positive? Is you guys
So,
told them
so,
that?
so our department is in charge of sending the specimen down to Baton Rouge, LSU. So what we do, of course, we have to send the specimen. There's protocols and procedures for sending the specimen out.
I guess I'm confused on that.
when it's dead.
Right, so what do you just kill it and then test it and hope he was positive? I don't.
No, actually, when it hit him, it fell and it died.
I got you, but like, what about these dogs, or these raccoons? What do they?
So if an animal, so there's a 10-day quarantine that our contracted veterinarians check for
physical neurological signs for an animal. But if that animal dies before the 10th day, we have to sacrifice that animal for a specimen and get the results from down south.
I got you.
So if an animal bites and he fulfills his entire or her entire 10 days, and our contracted veterinarian says, okay, this dog is good to go, like Mr. Clark alluded earlier, you know, to kind of help out with the citizens as far as, you know, we offer spay neuter, you know, to redeem that animal back. They can adopt it back for, you know, a lower fee. But if the animal passes before that 10th day, it has to be sacrificed and sent down for a specimen. So in this particular bat just happened to die, and we prepped it, sent it back. The state epidemiologist gave me a phone call, asked for the victim's information, notified the victim. So I just want to put that out there. We do. I mean, that's not the only positive bat, of course. He just happened to get hit by a bat that was positive in his location.
What about the skunk?
It's a her. The skunk just happened to attack a dog. The skunk was showing some, weird activities, and so it was actually in broad daylight, which sometimes you can't dictate that an animal's rabid because it's out in the daylight. I mean, of course, they're nocturnal, but sometimes they're out feeding, they're young, but this particular skunk happened to attack the pet, and so when they went outside to pull it away from the pet, it attacked the citizens. So that was strange behavior. So of course they took care of the skunk, brought the skunk to us to send it off for the specimen test, and it came back positive.
All right, so would you recommend to the citizens to take care of that animal and not let it get away?
I recommend citizens to not engage with wildlife unless you have to.
I mean, if it
Yes. If it happens to come in contact with the citizens, whether it's a bite or scratch, I recommend that you bring it to us to have it sent for a test specimen, especially your pets or yourself.
Right, because
Yes,
otherwise that person has to go through a number of
Yes,
painful.
it's a series of tests.
Right.
Yes, certain shots. So I just wanted to put that out there as well before I went into the mosquito. So of course I wanted to put out as well, we gave out like 600 boxes of T1 rat poison this year. And a lot of that, I was reading up on some articles in the CDC, a lot of that has to do with the COVID shutdown. A lot of the restaurants was closed. So rats will travel 5 to 10 miles to search for food. And so if your residential area is the next spot they hit, guess what? Because during the shutdown, we had more than, it was a lot of citizens. And we tried to figure out what was causing this, and that's exactly what it was. Because of the shutdown, there wasn't garbage cans behind restaurants or whatever. They would travel to the next house. And of course, 600 is a lot of boxes, but I wanted to put that out there as well. So that's a service that we provide. And moving on to the mosquitoes, I'm sure you all probably seen, we did a couple of news reviews over the cases in Caddo. We actually have 4 cases of West Nile. So there's 3 types of West Nile. You have asymptomatic, you have fever, and you have neuroinvasive. Neuroinvasive meaning the more strenuous, the more serious, attacks the central nervous, the brain, and can cause death. Now there's 2 deaths in the state of Louisiana. We can't give those locations, but there's 2 deaths from West Nile. Caddo Parish have 3 neuroinvasive and 1 fever. And Bossier have 1 neuroinvasive. Okay? And so what we did, we tried to encourage citizens to help us help them fight the bite. You know, when you're outside, wear a mosquito repellent containing 15% DEET or higher. Wear long sleeves if you have to. Dump your pet's water bowls if you have water bowls outside. Old plant containers, old tires. Just basically don't breed mosquitoes in your backyard. You'll be amazed of how quick a mosquito larvae develops into an adult, about 5 to 10 days. And so we try to put that out there as well. I also talked about the granules that we provide at our facility, the BTI granules. Okay, of course, you have to see the larvae in the water before you treat it. And 1 teaspoon treats about 50 to 100 feet. Okay, so we have that as well. Now, if it's bad, we have this larvicide that's called Alticid, but that's only given and provided by our technicians. That's if there's ditches, drainage systems that needs to be corrected by the city or the parish that we can't really control. And also, we were donated by the state a 4x4 utility vehicle to get in some of those tight spots that our trucks can't catch. Okay, we're gonna put a sprayer on that machine as well. And basically that's it for us mosquitoes. And sir, Commissioner Young, we do have your trap. Okay, the guys are taking a look at it. They're actually checking it out, setting it out to see what happens. And of course, that southern house mosquito is the one that we're speaking of. That's a strong vector of West Nile.
Southern House?
Yes, a quinx. It's called a
what
quinx.
its scientific name is?
The short term is quinx, but I'll email you the scientific name. And so the traps that we set, you have a light trap. The traps that we set are for data-driven purposes only. So the same as we talked about the bat specimens or rabies specimens, we have specimen that we send off to the lab for mosquitoes. So far, we sent 189, and 25 out of those 189 came back positive with West Nile. Of course, I can't talk about the location that the positive test came back for those particular specimens. But we do have 2 traps, the light trap, and then we have the gravity trap. The gravity trap is the one that's in high use now, and it's basically for the quinx, the southern house mosquito. And so that's the one that we utilize. And our quality assurance specialist, along with Mr. Brian Glascott, we set traps daily. And so even though we've gotten a lot of rain, that was a lot of the reasons for the high quantities of West Nile. But we're also looking at the fall part of the year. So about 75 degrees or lower, I say 70 and lower for a consecutive 5 days, you'll normally see mosquito population drop down. But right now, they're still active, okay? So protect yourself, protect your children, protect your pets, because I did mention prior is that a lot of people don't understand that mosquitoes is a vector for heartworms for your dog as well. They also pass West Nile to horses, equine. So a lot of that people don't understand or don't know or have knowledge about. Empty your horse troughs, or at least put a drainage plug in it, because like I said, mosquitoes can transmit West Nile to horses.
Go ahead.
A question about West Nile. So say a mosquito bit a dog or a cat, and then that dog nibbled on your finger and broke the skin, and
No,
the dog
no.
ended up with West Nile. Can the dog
No,
the
dogs
West Nile
can't
disease?
transfer it to us.
Okay.
But now, it takes a while. So if a dog, like Mr. Clark was talking about, comes in and it tests negative, a lot of times, that larva is incubating inside the dog's system. It may be a light positive, it may test negative. You keep it about 3 to 4 weeks, it may come up high positive. So, but no, the dog can't bite us and transfer it to us.
All right. Then the other question, back to the rats. Did we put any of those cats that y'all?
The barn cats, working cats?
Yeah. Did y'all put any of those out in
So
those?
we have signs up there that we tell citizens all the time, to help you. We have working cats, we have TNR program, so some take advantage of that particular program. It helps the cat and it helps the citizen. So
we
we
just
have.
don't release them in those areas that we get a lot of complaints in.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yes, sir, we do.
All right.
So it is our policy, I think, or it is the suggested policy that the cats under the
TNR.
TNR, they're released back to where we got them. Is that
They're
correct?
released right back to that
Right.
same area. And we always make that, we make that known to the citizen before we even
Right.
take the cat back to the facility.
So I have a quick question. Oh, did you want to? we'll let Commissioner Young go speak. I'll follow you.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say yet.
Oh, okay. So here's a quick question regarding mosquitoes.
Okay.
I remember during the tour as a rookie, not that I'm not past that much, when we went down there, we were told that we actually go out and assist people with doing mosquito baits and things like that in their stagnant water.
So,
And my concern here is just this old tires. And Commissioner Young and I
No,
were talking
no.
about is that we're going out and helping these people, yet they refuse to get rid of their tires. And are we citing them, or can we cite them for?
and
know,
so I work very
not helping us out any? Is what
Yes,
we're-
sir. I work very closely with Mr. Green from Property Standards. And so whenever we have citizens that's not taking those safety precautions, we'll try to get the city involved to help us out because we can't write citations. I know there was a talk about working on a tower program at one point. There's a lot of old tower shops that just, I mean, they're a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So I try to get Property Standards to team up with us, and it's been working quite well. And we just try to move forward like that.
And so you team up with Property Standards because Property Standards can write citations.
They
for
can
the
write
tires.
citations, and that's how we, yes,
Yeah, within the city
yes,
limits for the
yes.
tires.
And now, yes, for the tires, and any other like old swimming pools, or, you know, if they're not being compliant, if they're not trying to remedy the problem. And so we team up with those guys to try to help us out. Now, like you said before, your other question, we try to, say for instance, a while back, if we was hitting a certain particular district or area in a district, and their request to be sprayed, say numerous of times, and we're like, okay, there's an issue. So we start putting boots on the ground, actually getting out of the trucks, walk the property. And I think a couple of you all were on some chain emails about, you know, you discovered that there's a cesspool leak way out in the woods that no one knew about, and you find these things that you didn't even know why these mosquitoes were so abundant and the population was so high. So that helped out a lot. We start getting out, walking the area, and that's when we put that Alticid out. Alticid can only be provided by our technicians. That's a stronger larvicide than the BTI granules. So that helps out a lot too.
Any further questions? All righty.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
No-
Daniels.
no
Appreciate it.
problem.
Mr. Telfair, we want to give the
Yes,
facility
sir.
guys, give you an update on the projects. We want the facility guys to give you an update.
Oh,
on the
yeah,
projects.
I think Mr. Everson was gonna
Absolutely. That's
call
the
on
next
them
item
next so
on
they
our-
can be on their way.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, absolutely. You're good. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you. Yeah, the next item on our agenda is the status of construction projects at the Animal Services compound. I think we have
Mr.
Public
Maurice?
Works here.
Sorry.
I mean, Facilities and Maintenance. I'm sorry.
Good evening, good evening. Maurice Carson. So where we are right now, of course, we had a delay with the COVID-19, as everyone knows. But we've got several projects going on at the animal shelter. We've got the electrical, the mechanical side, which is electrical, HVAC, lighting, and whatnot. So right now, we're about 80% as far as the engineering side is being completed. They're looking to be about 35 to 45 days out from 100% completed with those engineering specs and plans. And then we'll be looking to meet and actually go over the scope of work and getting this project started.
Sorry to interrupt, would you kind of, for the knowledge of the commission here, would you kind of state what the project is, what the projects are? I know that you had electrical and HVAC and everything.
Yeah, we
Tell
have
us
the
what
mechanical
project is.
side, okay, and you also have the kennel upgrade or additional kennels going to be added. You also have the parking, and also the utility upgrades as far as plumbing and sewer. that has to be put in to handle the additional kennel upgrade, and also some security upgrades.
And what's our date of, hopefully our date of completion for the project itself?
Well, right now, we don't have really, I don't have a specific or a estimated time frame as far as completion. Right now, because we were delayed with COVID and that the engineering is not 100% complete as far as ready to go over the scope of work and time frame, as far as starting the project, we're still, like I say, 35 to 45 days out. And then we would know exactly how long that the specific parts of the project, first being the electrical to support the HVAC upgrades, and then go into the kennel upgrade and sewer and drive around and whatnot.
Okay, so if I go out there, am I gonna see any portion of the project underway?
No, sir.
Not right now.
And that's because of COVID?
Well, the delay is for COVID. The plans and specs, as far as engineering, are in the process of being put together. So once we get the engineering specs and plans, then we can meet and start looking to put it out for bid and get the project contracted out and get it started.
And so how long has this project kind of been on?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Wilson.
Mr. Farrell, when we do budget forecasts,
Right.
we had put this into the 2020 budget to start the project, but technically we can't get started till January 1st when the budget goes into effect. Typically, the life cycle of our budgets for construct capital projects is 3 years.
Okay.
And typically, this is a unique situation in that we had to go in and gut the entire building of all of the HVAC supply air ducts. So you can't do it in the middle of summertime and you can't do it in the middle of wintertime. That shrinks the window of opportunity down to very tight. But at the very least, we have to get all the designs done, get the right size duct work and put in, and the engineering work has taken several months to get done. So once we get that, we got to go through the competitive bid process, and then actually once we let the bid out, then the performance starts. It's time, but we have to time it real critical because we can't do it in the middle of summertime. You can't do it in the middle of wintertime. So it's the fall of the year, the spring of the year, when we can take advantage of when we can take things out without impacting the operation of the building, because we still have to operate. And collectively, we have about $2 million of capital projects in that building alone. So that's a lot of projects.
Yes, sir.
But typically, we typically get our projects done in a year. But this one is going to take a little bit longer
Okay.
to get it done.
All right, thank you for the explanation, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
That's what it's all
problem.
about, knowledge here. Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's the scope of what's involved in the project.
All right, Commissioner Jones?
Could you tell us about the kennel expansion a little bit? How much bigger is it getting?
The building itself is not getting any bigger.
It's the outside.
Yeah.
Travis, you want to talk about that one? We'd have Travis talk about his plan.
Oh.
Thank you.
How you doing? Sorry. The kennel expansion is just gonna be, right now you have a single bank of kennels on the outside, which is the adoption kennels, the overflow kennels, and medical isolation. Those are single kennels. What we would love to see happen is that it be double-sided kennels, meaning front to back. You can completely isolate the animal to one side while you clean the other, vice versa. It's less stress on the animal. You don't have to take them out of the cage and put them on the cable to the fence right here while you clean it, and then you put it back in. It's not going to provide more kennels in number. It's just about the quality of life for the animal. That's
So
the
you're
whole
expanding
purpose of that.
Individual kennels to make it easier to move the dog for cleaning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But
So
you're
it'll
not
be
making more kennels for more dogs.
yes. No, we're not making more kennels for more dogs. No, sir. No, sir.
Great.
That's it.
Great. Are we on to any topic?
we just following the date of the construction project. Thank you. Appreciate the update. Thank you so much.
And, okay, and our next item is operations update, changes and improvements.
That's what he did talk about.
I think we already kind of went through a lot of that.
The only thing that I didn't cover, I'm sorry, I just went ahead and went through the list. The only thing that I didn't update was the best friends coming back, and Director Samuel can update you on that.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Calvin, let's talk about the manpower too while you're up there as well. Sir. Address the manpower issue too while you're up there.
Okay. Yes, so, Best Friends National Society organization has been mentoring us since 2018. And so when they first came out, of course, we didn't have everything the way that we thought it should be, and we took a lot of their advice. Okay, we then in tune had an audit performed by Best Friends. Since then, like Mr. Clark alluded earlier, we attended multiple conferences. Last year, we took the manager and the investigator officer down. That's when we won that $500 grant, and that was because the director of Maddie's fund heard us talking about the positive things we wanted to do for the community. They called us out of the line and told us we didn't have to spend a little Wheel of Fortune thing to win because they liked the positive energy. So talking to the executive director for our region, they said that it's not really needed to conduct an audit because we stay in touch, and we've answered all the manager responses from the previous audits. They've done like little reviews, little pop-ins, but nothing officially documented. And so we walk them through, and they come back, and I did shoot them an email, the regional director from Best Friends for our region, and that's what their response was. They said after COVID slows down, if it slows down, they will entertain it, come down and give us another look, and they can make it official.
Okay, so one quick question. So what you're saying is that the Best Friends actually physically pop in?
They popped in probably once or twice just to stop by to see how we're doing. As mentorship, they donated 3 pallets of food maybe 3 months ago because of COVID for families that maybe lost their jobs. So they've been in touch with us like throughout the first initial visit.
And that's either the people of Best Friends or the executive director of this region?
People of both. People of Best Friend and this directive region. And for his our organizational chart, they were the ones that actually presented what we should do as an organization. We followed that organizational chart, and I think we're just 3 bodies short of fulfilling it, and that's because of different reasons.
Speaking of the organizational chart, do you have that? I know that I think I've asked Mr. Clark before because I saw that in the Best Friends report, and then
yes, sir.
I got the organizational chart
yes,
out of the SOPs.
Yes, sir.
I think it would be good for me. I
yes,
can't speak for the rest of the board here. I would like to see the organizational chart actually filled in, so I know exactly who. So we know exactly who's in those positions. Is that possible?
I have to get with Dr. Wilson on that. Yeah. I mean, I know I have it broken down by position, but not with names.
We have positions because the names may change.
Yes.
So we don't want to put names on these positions because if an employee leaves, transfer, then we got to go back and keep doing the chart.
Okay. The only reason I ask is usually with a major department like sheriff's office, or I mean, you know,
now you
Mr. Clark would have a big board up there,
right,
would have everybody on it, and sometimes you don't know who's in what position, especially I don't.
Right.
So sometimes it's really helpful to see who's in what position and so forth. But that's fine. I understand the
we can try to modify this
logistics there.
We have listed by titles as opposed to personnel.
Yeah,
right.
Per positions. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good enough.
Okay.
But that's a great tool there. I like
yes,
the way
sir.
it's laid out.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Okay. Is that it? Yes, sir.
I read through the Best Friends audit that they did. It seemed really thorough. It was from 2017, I think.
Okay, that's the first one.
The first one, yeah. And I think I read a Postlethwaite and Netterville audit as well. Is that correct? From a year later.
Post away
There were a couple
Postlewaite
of
did
things
the
that they said
internal
in the audit, and I wondered what the state of them was. One of them I noticed was glove use for handling dogs. It seemed like there was some uncertainty about whether people should change their gloves between dogs.
Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
what's the status of that procedure now?
Right. So the glove usage was to not transfer, of course, diseases from one kennel to the next. So we utilize gloves when we're dealing with multiple animals. We'll change, but when the animal service, the animal care specialists, when they're working, of course, they don't actually handle the dogs like Mr. Clark said before. That's why we want the guillotine, for less contact and less transfer of disease. So
Okay.
we're actually past that.
Okay, so you do use gloves? With
We
dogs?
use gloves if we have to transfer an animal to the vet room,
Uh-huh.
if we have to get a puppy from the front,
Uh-huh.
take it to the back,
But
we
most
wear
of the time you're
gloves,
not
we wear
touching
aprons.
dogs.
Yes, when you're handling an animal.
Right.
But when you're doing general cleaning, that's why those guillotines actually, you're hands off.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
Gotcha. The reason I asked is because it seemed like one reason that you didn't your policy wasn't to change gloves all the time was because it would use so many gloves, and I wondered if reusable gloves like the ones that you wear to clean your house.
Right.
work.
We have industrial gloves.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. I have one other question about, or at least one other question about the thing. One of the recommendations from Best Friends was to be open for adoption outside work hours, or like
So-
in the evenings and on weekends. So
Yes,
that
and
more
so-
people with free time could come and adopt dogs.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Prior to COVID, of course, we were open on Saturdays
Okay.
from 10, yes. And so we do have our adoption coordinator and rescue coordinator. They attend Petco, PetSmart, different events
So you
within the
mostly
city.
take them off-site on.
Yes,
off
yes,
hours.
off-site, and some of those off-sites are outside of duty hours. Sometimes they're early, sometimes they're later, sometimes they're on a Sunday.
Okay.
So prior to COVID, yes, sir.
Okay. Great.
And we plan to pick that back up.
Super. Let's see, I had, so I also had a question about the rescue groups. And, so my understanding is you get, rescue groups that are interested in some of our animals.
Yes, sir.
And then you, like, they, I guess, have a list that they wanna come pick up, and you hold the dogs or cats for them. And, if a Caddo citizen comes and wants to adopt one of them that's already on the list, do they don't get to adopt the animal, is that correct? Or,
Yes, sir. One of the reasons we would prefer the 48-hour window for rescue groups, you have to understand that if a rescue group is in, let's just say, Virginia or Maryland, when they say they're going to tag this dog, meaning they want to help this dog, they're already networking on their end as well as far as when that animal will arrive and whatnot. It is then up to the rescue group and the coordinator to make sure that animal is out of the facility and into a foster home. Because if the animal's not at the shelter, then okay, the animal's not physically here. Before we had an issue with, not an issue, a few incidents where a rescue group would want to tag a certain animal, but we didn't have a foster for that animal at the time. Okay, well, I can't justify that if we have prospective adopters walking through the facility and they see this dog sitting here, me having to tell them, well, hey, a rescue has tagged this dog, it's leaving in 2 weeks.